I'm Anthony.
And I'm Amanda.
And we are AB Adventures.
And today we're going to be talking about our most recent trip to Walt Disney World.
Yep, we just got back.
This time talking about your experience in the parks with COVID restrictions.
Yep.
So we're going to be sharing our experience and some things that you might not be expecting with all of these restrictions in place. If you want to watch our old one, go ahead. Stick around for this one.
Yep. All right, guys, welcome back. So just to recap some of the things we talked about in our COVID in the Disney Parks video, things that we saw that are, still definitely happening.
So one of the main ones is the park reservation system, and we're going to go through these fairly quickly. So again, you can watch the other video to get more details, but park reservation system is still in place. Masks and no fireworks are also still in place.
Yep. Temperature checks when you enter the parks.
Yep, and those are like the thermometer and walking through the kind of tunnel or the tent.
You're still going to want to have My Disney Experience downloaded. Bring your phone to scan the QR codes in the restaurants.
Right. And all of the tables are socially distanced, so when you go to those restaurants, you scan your QR code. They are doing social distancing at the tables, and then in the rides queues as well.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the basics of what you're going to find at the parks. So we wanted to kind of unpack that a little bit.
Talk about our experience of what that was like, how that played out.
Right.
So when you think about Disney and social distancing, it may feel like those two are incompatible. Especially because you think of like park open and rope drop, you've got all these people bunched up at the front of the park ready to go in. One of the ways that they've handled that is by kind of staggering the opening of people getting into the park. So if you're coming from the buses, you might get in earlier than someone who's coming in parking, or the monorail, or walking from the resorts. They kind of stagger those entrances so that everybody's not up there at the same time.
So we noticed that when we were driving in with our car, we would have thought they would open up the gate an hour early, and it was usually a little bit after that, and we were wondering why, because by the time we got in, people were already entering into the parks, and we noticed that a lot of the resort transportation was getting there way early, and were allowed to get there early. And then for us, when we actually took the resort transportation to these different parks, they were allowing you in, but they weren't holding you at the gate. And obviously there's like security reasons that they've always been doing that, but now it's hard to distance people in these spaces. So we realized instead of letting people rope drop and crowd around each other around a rope, they're allowing people to actually get into the ride queues where there are distance markers. And so it allows, like, the parks open, even if the rides aren't necessarily running, you're allowed to go everywhere, and you just get in line where they allow you to then social distance. So
and that's a good segue into the queues for the rides. So if you walk up to a ride and you see, it's stretched out. Peter Pan, when we went to ride Peter Pan, just as a personal story, it twisted around the normal queue, and then it came outside, it went into Liberty Square, went into a restaurant, up the stairs, down the stairs, and out the back. So like this ridiculous line, but we only waited in it maybe 40 minutes. It wasn't terrible.
We didn't stop moving. Like, you just keep walking and walking and walking. Like, that's the line, is you're just walking this long distance.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you see those super long lines that are stretching way outside the ride, they're deceivingly long. They're shorter than they look.
Yeah, because there were a couple times where I walked up and I was like, oh no, we're not standing in that line, but you get in it and it's 15 minutes.
And it's because most of the guests that we saw, and we saw a few exceptions, but most of the guests were adhering to that 6-foot policy. So you didn't have a lot of places in the line where it was bunched up or, causing a...
Right. And so two things with that. One of them was, in our other video, we said that they're stopping a lot of the rides and cleaning them, usually like at the top of the hour. There was only once or twice where we actually felt like the line stopped, and it could have been because of that. We were never up front to actually see that happen, but there were a couple times where we felt like it stopped,
Yeah.
and it could have been because of that. And the other thing was, he was talking about there were a couple exceptions, and we went back to our room one of the nights and we were like, really, there's probably 98-99% of the people that are adhering to it.
Yeah.
And there were just a couple that weren't, and Disney was on top of that.
So we talked about the enhanced cleaning on the rides, which we didn't personally see up front. But then they've also implemented cleaning in a lot of other areas. So the buses being one. One of the things that we noticed when we were standing waiting for a bus one time was all of these buses would pass by us
With nobody in them.
with nobody in them and not going anywhere, it seemed.
And they said, we were just stopping for cleaning, thank you for your patience, all of that, and then come back and pick you up right after. So,
Yeah. So really safe there. And then in restaurants, we were probably not ever in a restaurant where we didn't see someone disinfecting a table nearby.
Yep.
So as soon as someone would get up, they would disinfect and then direct, the next party to sit down.
Right. Okay, then still talking about cleaning, but we had mentioned in our previous video that they lifted the lids of the trash cans so you can just directly throw your stuff away, and we saw that everywhere. Just about everywhere that you went, there wasn't a time. I remember there was one point, and it might have even been off-site, that I had to push in a lid, and it was just one time. Anyway, they are definitely still doing that, and keeping your hands clean, riding, getting onto the rides, getting off of the rides, just about anywhere. There's Purell stands.
Purell stations everywhere.
Hand sanitizer all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been one time when, I think it was off Toy Story Mania, when it was empty, but then you walk like 10 feet and there's another one right there. So
I would say accessible and available. And that was the draw.
Right.
All right, so we talked about no shows, no parades.
No fireworks.
There are a few exceptions. The Frozen sing-along is open. Muppet Vision was open.
Yep. There are a couple.
So there are
but
a
for the
few
most part,
shows.
like the big ones that you think about are still closed, and you can find it on Disney's website. But like Indiana Jones and Beauty and the Beast, all those are definitely still closed. But there are a couple small ones. So anyway.
Right. Other exception is that they have cavalcades that come through. And what we mean by that is it's like a miniature parade at random intervals. So they're not scheduled. It doesn't seem like they're scheduled.
We were sitting in Magic Kingdom on Main Street, and we saw a couple that came in like every 15 minutes, but then one was like half an hour and one was 20 minutes, but they were frequent enough that they were coming pretty quickly. It wasn't one a day like a normal parade.
And because of that schedule, it's just, oh look, there's a cavalcade. It's not, let's stand here and wait for the, now for us it was because we wanted video.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have those crowds of people waiting to see certain characters.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a one-time thing, not just in the cavalcades that come, but the types too. They do the same ones throughout the day, so they'll cycle through and then they'll come back around again, so you'll get to see those ones again that day rather than just that one parade where if you miss it, you miss it.
Yep.
And one of the things that we notice is that they raise the music right before it happens. So if you hear the music get really loud or it changes into a different song or something and it's really loud, that's usually a signal
sign that it's coming.
for you. Yeah, get out to where those main streets are and you'll be able to see those.
All right, so now we want to talk about a few things that if you're looking to go on a trip, some expectations to have in mind, things that might be different from if you go to Disney all the time or are used to planning your Disney trip. Just some things to adjust.
Right, and so along the thing of the cavalcades, when we're talking about that, there are less shows. Those cavalcades happen throughout the day, but there are less shows, and a lot of the shows that used to happened at night, and that's not happening right now. So the parks are closing earlier. A lot of the things that you might want to do at night just kind of dwindle off because there's not anything happening. So expect to leave the parks early.
Yeah, and maybe not expect, but be okay with leaving the parks early. If wearing that mask all day, as you're walking and
we'll get into that more, but you might want to be done.
it makes sense. If your whole family's ready to be done, don't drag out the day. There's nothing to wait for at the end of the day.
There's certain things where maybe it actually benefits your family more to go back to the hotel, to go to the pool, to go rest. one thing too is that a lot of people are doing that. So if you did want to hang around and you're not too tired, the wait times will go down.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus. But if you're done and you're tired, like don't worry about it. Don't stress it.
Yeah. I think the core of that is don't make it a open to close day, or it doesn't need to be an open to close day. That's not as crucial in this.
It's a much more fluid type of day now because there's less people that are kind of crowding toward all the popular things. You don't have that as much.
And we talked about wearing the masks all day. Be okay with taking a break in the middle of the day, even if it's not for lunch or it's not something that's scheduled. We had a lot of times, or we faced a lot of times when we just had to sit down. We had to sit down in the shade or take a break or get something to drink so that we could take our masks off.
The first day, it was really hard. Like we had an experience having our masks on all day like that, and I got kind of like a sore throat at night and that kind of stuff. And maybe that's too much information, or maybe you won't experience that. I don't know, but yeah.
There are three areas in each park called relaxation stations, where you can sit at a table or a bench, take your mask off, and just, it's a place to cool down.
Yep, and they're fantastic. And our favorite one that we went to was the Star Wars Launch Bay in Hollywood Studios. Those are fantastic. We really like the relaxation stations.
Yeah, definitely.
So overall, we really thought that this was a great experience. If it's your first time, maybe save it until a little bit later because it doesn't have those big wow factors. But if you're going back and you just want to go back and you just want to be there, it's fantastic. And there were a couple things that we noticed that were just really special.
Yeah. It's what I tell people is it's really a trade-off. That you have to wear your mask all day, which gets tiring. It may be a little bit more draining than other Disney trips. But in the same vein, with there being less people and less crowds, there was one day that I sat, and there's some, grass or some turf. The hub grass in front of the castle. We sat down, we laid down, we kicked off our shoes, laid in the grass in front of the castle.
We went over to Sleepy Hollow and got the chicken and waffles there and brought it back. And multiple times. I mean, I went and got Starbucks another night and sat there over and over and over again. You would not be able to do that because people would be holding their spot for the fireworks,
which we did last time. I mean, at 4 p.m. we were waiting for a 10 p.m. show.
We wanted front and center and we were waiting for it. But my goodness, there's just so many things that have changed in a way that really allows you to slow down.
Yes.
So
take advantage of that.
Yeah, if you're wanting it to be fast, maybe this is not the best time for you because there's less happening. But if you want it to have that slow, peaceful feel and just be able to take it in,
this is the time to do it. So thank you guys so much. 2 things. If you've been to the park recently, what are some of your tips for people who are looking at going? And if you're looking at going at the parks recently, are there any questions or anything you'd like to know from us?
Yeah, we would love to be able to help you guys out because it was a really special experience for us. So thank you guys so much, and don't forget to subscribe. You can head over to our Facebook page whenever we do live videos there. Every once in a while we'll do them. And thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the flip-flop.
So long.